Hi, I'm Kenneth. I learned something new this week.
This week, I learned about rules on occupational safety and health, and how to apply them in school. And I am sharing it with you.
Welcome to this explainer. Okay, let's just jump right in because we're tackling an incredibly vital topic today. Too often when we hear the words safety compliance, our brains immediately go to like a dusty cabinet stuffed full of mundane forms and checklists, just waiting to be filed away and completely forgotten. But today, we are going to completely reframe that mindset. We're exploring how shifting school safety from this rigid, bureaucratic compliance chore into a living, empowering culture of care is absolutely essential. We're going to map out the ultimate guide to school safety and occupational safety and health, or OSH, compliance in the Philippines. It is time we understand how true safety actually empowers everyone involved. Picture a typical morning assembly for a second. It perfectly captures the breathtaking scale of the Philippine education system. Rows upon rows of students, teachers, staff, all gearing up for the day. But with that massive scale comes some really undeniable vulnerability. We're talking about an archipelago that gets hit by over 20 typhoons annually, literally sitting right at the top of the global risk index for natural disasters. So the stakes here are heavily dual-focused. Yes, we have a strict duty to protect the physical learning facilities, absolutely, but we also have to safeguard the psychological and social well-being of the entire community. I mean, think about it. A kid who feels unsafe simply cannot learn, and a teacher who constantly fears for their security, they can't effectively teach. To put this into perspective, just look at the sheer number of lives involved in this shared mission. We are talking about approximately 22 million learners. 22 million? And when you add in the 1 million employees spread across 27,000 schools, you realize pretty quickly that school safety isn't just some administrative preference, it is a fundamental priority for national survival. Protecting these people isn't just a local school issue, it's a massive, highly coordinated nationwide enterprise that literally requires everyone's commitment. So how do we tackle something of this magnitude? Well, we need a plan. Here is the 6-step roadmap we'll take today to map out a complete school safety program. The OSH legal framework, organizing safety committees, hazard identification, emergency preparedness, specialized area safety, and finally, program evaluation. Let's get into it. All right, starting off with Section 1, the OSH Legal Framework and Understanding Republic Act number 11058. This law is basically the bedrock of our whole house of safety, and it fundamentally changed the entire legal landscape in the Philippines. It's not just a set of rules so you can avoid penalties. It's the state formally recognizing that a safe workforce is the primary economic force of the nation. It upgrades safety from a polite suggestion to a hardline mandate. So what does this actually look like on the ground? Under RA 11058, every single teacher, maintenance worker, and security guard has 3 strict, non-negotiable rights. First up, the right to know. They must be thoroughly informed of all hazards, chemical, electrical, you name it, and get full access to safety training. Second, the right to refuse. If there's an imminent danger that could realistically cause serious injury or worse, they can flatly refuse to work in that environment with zero fear of retaliation. No way you can fire them for that. And third, the right to PPE. Personal protective equipment has to be provided absolutely free of charge. And a crucial detail here, PPE must specifically be listed as a separate pay item in a school's operating budget. That makes sure it is never overlooked or defunded. Now, on the flip side of those worker rights are some heavy legal responsibilities. School principals and administrators, who act strictly as the employers under the law, have undeniable duties. They have to proactively furnish a workplace entirely free from harmful conditions. They've got to provide specific job safety instructions, which is absolutely crucial for new hires using complex equipment. They must ensure only approved, certified equipment is used on campus, and they must allow active worker participation in safety programs. And if they ignore this, the stakes are wild. Willful noncompliance can lead to severe administrative fines of 100,000 pesos per day. Let me repeat that, per day, until the violation is completely fixed. The risk is simply too high to ignore. Which brings us nicely to Section 2, organizing safety committees, or as I like to think of it, building the team. You see, when local audits happen, the biggest gap in school safety isn't actually missing fire extinguishers or physical equipment. It's a lack of formal organization. Section 13 of the law legally requires a formal safety and health committee to be built so that the burden doesn't all fall on just one stressed-out person. In a properly organized setup, the structure is super clear. The principal sits at the very top as the ex officio chairperson, giving that executive oversight.
Branching out from there, you've got the safety officer acting as the secretary of the committee, and they work hand in hand with occupational health personnel, like the school nurse or physician. But here's the best part. The absolute core of this structure sits right in the middle, and that's the worker representatives. These are folks directly elected by the teachers and staff to constantly voice on-the-ground concerns and suggest realistic fixes. It's a structured, collaborative team, not a dictatorship.
Within that collaborative team, this safety officer holds a really unique and incredibly powerful position. They aren't just there to take meeting notes. They are actively mandated to monitor hazards and proactively prevent disasters before they strike. And get this, they possess the legal authority to issue work stoppage orders if an imminent danger is identified. Literally, if a facility is unsafe, they can shut the whole operation down. They are the highly empowered, legally backed watchdogs of the campus.
So once we have this empowered team, what exactly do they do? That's Section 3, Hazard Identification or the Birth of a Safer Environment. Because a true culture of care means risk assessment shouldn't just be some top-down mandate sent out from the principal's office. Take the BIRTH program, for example. It's this fantastic, decentralized approach where students themselves actively decide and identify classroom risks. They're trained to spot broken windows, sharp edges, loose wires, you name it. By doing this, the students become active, empowered hazard detectors in their own learning environment. It's brilliant. And taking a unified approach to school health and safety requires clear strategic priorities. It's kind of like a giant puzzle. It brings together disaster-adept facility designs, comprehensive emergency readiness, and clearly defined roles for absolutely everyone, from top management down to those students we just talked about. It relies on a seamless integration of health protocols, structural checks, and non-stop training. Everything has to connect to weave this unbreakable safety net around the community.
Okay, so when you actually spot a hazard, how do you handle it? We use the OSHA standard sequence for mitigating risks, known as the hierarchy of controls. Think of it as a countdown, building deliberately from the most effective strategy down to the absolute last resort. Number 1, elimination. Just physically remove the hazard entirely. Like, chop down that rotting tree near the playground. Number 2, substitution. Replace it with something safer. Swap toxic lead-based paint for an eco-friendly one. Number 3, engineering controls. If you can't remove it, isolate people from it, like putting heavy-duty guards on machines in a wood shop. Number 4, administrative controls. Change how people interact with the space using schedules, warning signs, and training. And finally, number 5, PPE. Personal protective equipment is always strictly considered the last line of defense when nothing else works. Moving into Section 4, Emergency Preparedness, or Actionable Readiness. Look, even with the absolute best hazard controls in the world, we always have to be ready for the unexpected. A plan on paper is only as good as the very last physical drill you actually practiced. That is exactly why the Department of Education heavily mandates monthly earthquake drills. The goal is to ensure that life-saving behaviors become total instinctive muscle memory for kids, rather than something they have to consciously think about while the ground is shaking.
But readiness in a disaster-prone country deeply involves continuity, too. The SECAM policy is fascinating because it dictates that learning no longer just grinds to a halt when disaster strikes, instead it rapidly pivots. Schools have to shift to alternative modes. We're talking modular learning for students who are isolated without internet, online learning during extended floods or massive facility repairs, and utilizing projected mat attack centers. These act as high-tech hubs to monitor typhoon paths and real-time damage, ensuring kids stay connected to their education no matter what's happening outside. And if things go south and a total evacuation is needed, every single school must execute a rigid 5-point emergency evacuation plan. Here's the breakdown. 1. Explicit reporting protocols, even for near misses, because honestly, a near miss today is a fatal accident tomorrow. 2. Accessible alarm systems that you can hear in literally every single corner of the campus. 3. Clearly marked safe zones, completely free of overhead hazards. 4. Assigned roles for search and rescue, so staff know precisely who is sweeping which hallway. And 5, and this is so important, explicit procedures for PWD accessibility, making absolutely sure learners with physical disabilities are safely and swiftly evacuated and never left behind.
Next up, Section 5, Specialized Area Safety. We have to realize that our house of safety isn't just a copy-paste job across the whole school. The hazard levels change drastically depending on exactly where you're standing on campus.
There is a massive night-and-day contrast across a campus when it comes to risk. Your general classrooms are basically considered less hazardous environments. You know, they mostly just need routine structural checks, good ventilation, daily sweeping, standard stuff.
But specialized areas, places like bustling canteens, chemical-filled science labs, and technical vocational workshops, those are incredibly high-risk zones. They require intensified, highly specific protocols. We're talking rigorous water testing for basic hygiene in the canteen, electronic systems like ECBS for tracking dangerous chemical waste in biology labs, and super strict training on how to dismantle heavy machinery in the workshops so no one loses a finger.
Now, managing all these wildly varying risk levels is a massive undertaking. I want to pause for a second and acknowledge what we call the CEO paradox. One school principal actually expressed it like this: "We are asked to take all measures like a CEO, but we need the financial support and salary to match." I mean, wow, that hits the nail on the head. It perfectly validates the insane administrative and emotional burden placed right on the shoulders of school leaders. They desperately need senior management and local governments to step up, meet them halfway, and provide dedicated, robust OSH budgets to make all of these safety initiatives a reality.
All right, we are in the final stretch. Section 6, Program Evaluation. You've set up the legal framework, built your team, implemented hazard controls, and prepared for emergencies. Awesome. But at the end of the year, how do you actually know if your campus is tangibly safer? Well, you have to monitor success, and that means relying on hard data.
School leaders absolutely must track specific metrics using modern digital systems to evaluate their continuous improvement. Systems like the MEBS OSH module help centralize emergency plans, while the Basic Education Information System, or BASE, tracks comprehensive safety initiatives on a nationwide scale. On the ground level, schools have to meticulously track incident report frequency. And yes, that heavily includes tracking those near misses we discussed earlier. They also need to honestly monitor their monthly drill completion rates and actively review audit results from local government unit inspections to spot those critical, systemic gaps their internal teams might have just overlooked.
Interestingly, as we look closely at all this data, we uncover some massive long-term challenges. Research highlights a severe systemic risk right now: a global shortage of doctoral-level OSH scientist-educators. Basically, we have a dangerous pipeline problem for training the future safety officers of tomorrow. It's a huge blind spot. It highlights a really pressing need to encourage current, passionate teachers to pursue specialized occupational safety graduate studies. We absolutely need true, academic experts ready to guide and protect the next generation.
So you might be wondering, why go through all this immense effort, time, and money? Well, because of the incredible return on prevention. Check this out. For every single dollar or peso invested directly into occupational safety and health, it actively generates over $2 in positive economic impact. High, uncompromising safety standards entirely eliminate operational distractions, they drastically boost student attendance, and they prevent the devastating loss of lives and property. It is, for sure, the absolute smartest, highest yield investment a school administration can ever make.
So I will leave you with this final, provocative thought to consider for your own community. Are you just checking compliance boxes, just filling out tedious forms to stuff into a dusty cabinet, or are you actively, passionately building a true culture of care? The framework is right there, the national laws are explicitly clear, and the practical tools are firmly in your hands. It is time to step up and ensure that every single one of those 22 million learners returns home every single day exactly as safely as they arrived. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.
Did you learn something new and exciting about occupational safety and health in schools? Share it here. I want to know about it too.
This video was researched with Perplexity, processed with Notebook LM, refined with Google Workspace, Gemini, and Copilot, and finalized with DaVinci Resolve and Canva.